Federal Bureau of Prisons is tasked with protecting society by confining offenders in the controlled environments of prisons and community-based facilities. BOP's duty is not merely to provide housing, food, and security for federal inmates, but also to help them become eventually law-abiding citizens. Every American has an interest in BOP's mission because the vast majority of federal inmates, well above 90%, will someday, in fact, be released. BOP's job is not an easy task, and it has only become more complicated due to the COVID-19 virus. In response to COVID-19, BOP undertook a number of steps to safeguard the health and safety of staff and the public. They prioritized inmates for home confinement who did not pose a significant risk to the public, restricted the number of visitors, and limited the movement of inmates among their detention facilities. These are reasonable measures, but my colleagues on the other side of the aisle want to go much further. They have tried to use the COVID-19 pandemic as a reason to let more criminals back on our streets. They even wrote to the Attorney General Barr, urging him to, quote, use every tool at his disposal to release as many prisoners as possible, regardless of whether they had completed their process and what the plan for each inmate to actually have reached what the experts would call rehabilitation. They even passed legislation in the House that would pay states to release inmates in state prisons and local jails. Think about that. Democrats want to use your tax dollars to incentivize states to put more criminals back on the streets. The consequence of these actions have deadly real-world results, as we have unfortunately seen. A Colorado inmate released pursuant to an executive order signed by the governor related to COVID-19 was arrested in a fatal Denver shooting less than a month after his release. In Florida, a 26-year-old man charged with second-degree murder in connection with the fatal shooting in March, he was released from custody by the sheriff the previous month to contain the spread of COVID-19. And just a few miles from here in Alexandria, Virginia, a man who was in custody for breaking into a woman's apartment and attacking her in 2019. Due to COVID-19 concerns, this man was released by a local judge over the objection of the prosecutors in April. 3 months later, he shot and killed the very woman he attacked the year before. In spite of these and numerous other crimes that have been committed by inmates released early, Democrats are calling for more inmates to be released regardless of their crime or prison sentence. To be clear, Democrats on the committee want to open the jails, and don't forget, they also want to defund the police. They want to turn a public health crisis into a public safety crisis. These are not responsible policies, and I hope our witnesses today will explain why they're not. Like the Bureau of Prisons, the United States Marshals Service has faced challenges stemming from the COVID-19 pandemic. As our nation's oldest federal law enforcement agency, the Marshals Service's duties are vast, protecting the federal judiciary, apprehending federal fugitives, managing and selling seized criminal assets, housing and transporting federal prisoners, and of course, operating the witness security program. This past summer, we saw the husband and son of a federal judge in New Jersey become the victims of murder after they were ambushed feet from their front door of their home. I look forward to exploring with our witnesses today ways we can help to keep our judges safe. As we discuss the BOP and the Marshal Service, we cannot forget the men and women around the country who put their lives on the line to keep us safe. I also want to tell Director Washington, Director Carbajal, to please pass on our appreciation to your officers and employees. They have a tough job, especially in the recent months. With all the violence around the country, they should know that they have our support. Finally, President Trump has been a leader in criminal justice reform through the Second Chance Act and his wise use of the presidential pardon power. President Trump has also been a champion for law enforcement around the country. This hearing would not be complete without discussing and appreciating the job the president has done leading in these important areas.